First of all, welcome everyone back to the weekly webcast. Today's webcast is being sponsored by Barry and Sharon Schechter in honor of the yahrzeit of Sharon's father, Lipa, the son of David. May his neshama have an aliyah, and may the Torah that is being studied by so many hundreds through this webcast be in his merit and in his chus. This week's portion, which is what this webcast is, it's a weekly Torah portion webcast. We're going to elaborate and discuss the portion of Terumah. Terumah is the portion in which God begins to tell the instruction to the Jewish people that they build for Him a home. Basically, we're building a house for God. And the instruction is very, very precise, clear, and in great detail. First he tells them what kind of utensils should be in this house, what dimensions of the rooms, what dimension of the utensils. To be very brief, there were basically two chambers in the temple. The one that they built in the desert. One was known as the sanctuary, and one was known as the Holy of Holies. In the Holy of Holies you had the ark with the two tablets. In the sanctuary you had the table, you had the menorah, you had the altar, and then you had the courtyard, a third part, in which the outside altar. There were two altars, one was inside and one was outside. Now it's interesting that this mitzvah, this commandment, which is probably one of the most important of all the commandments. And the proof, maybe, I don't know if we can put importance to commandments and measure them, but there's no question that this commandment takes up a great amount of space, in the great amount of verses and chapters and portions in the Torah. To be precise, the second half of the book of Exodus, the whole second half of the book, discusses this little house. And this house was not big. This tabernacle was maybe smaller than this building. Just to put it in perspective. It was about, to be exact, it was 30 amos, which is about 40 feet in length, and 15 feet in width. 45 by 15, that was the whole thing, and 15 feet high. That was the whole thing. And the question, of course, is, why was it that this home and this mitzvah was not given once, and it should remain permanently the way it was given that first time? Just to explain what I'm asking. You have the mitzvah, let's say, of baking matzah for Pesach, right? The matzah that you bake today in any traditional matzah bakery is the exact same matzah that Moses baked 3,330 years ago when they left Egypt. Well, it's not exactly 3,300 and change, whatever it is. There's no change to that mitzvah. The mitzvah, the way it was given back then at Mount Sinai, is still the same. We do it exactly the same way till today. Only then it was not Manischewitz. That's it. That was the whole difference.
Logan David?
I don't know. But the matzah is the same thing if you're doing the hand-baked matzah, which is round, flat, the ingredients are the same, it's all the same. I'll give you a different mitzvah. The mitzvah of putting on tefillin. The mitzvah that we do today is exactly what they did 3,300. It remained the same. There was no development in the way this mitzvah is done. Regarding the temple and the building of this house, this home for God, it changed and changed again and changed the third time, and it's So once it is here, then it's destroyed. It isn't here, then it's built again, and it's here. It's destroyed again, and it's not here. It underwent so many developmental changes over the years. So the question is, why didn't God give this mitzvah once and for all? And it shouldn't change, and that it shouldn't be destroyed. It should be here always. Just to put in, to understand what I mean by change. The temple, the first home that was built for God, and the instructions that appear in this week's portion are the description of one type of home, made out of wood, out of acacia wood. The measurements are a certain amount of measurements I gave you before, 45 by 15 by 15. And that's it. And there was no roof. The roof was made of tapestries, made out of hides and animal skin. But when you later come to Israel, this sanctuary that was built in this portion remained for 40 years. When they wandered in the desert. When they got to the land of Israel, they built a new temple. Not in Jerusalem yet. This new temple was built in a place called Shiloh. There were a few stops in between, but Shiloh was, they got to that city and they built that temple there. It's in, today there's a city of Shiloh as well. They rebuilt it. It's in what we call today the occupied territories. But over there it was built for 369 years. There was a temple, but it wasn't made out of wood. Over there it changed. It was made out of stone. A stone home. Pretty much the same structure. But then it changes again. They come to Jerusalem, and King David buys the property where the temple will be built upon. And over there it's a whole different type of home is built. It's not out of wood. There's a lot of gold. There's wood on top. It's a stone. The dimensions are completely different. Everything changes over there. It doesn't resemble the desert tabernacle. Almost doesn't resemble it at all. The only resemblance is that it's basically broken down into three sections as well: the Holy of Holies, the sanctuary, and the outer section. But other than that, the dimensions are different, the height is different, the width is different, the length, everything is different. It doesn't look the same at all. And that temple also gets destroyed. Not by the Jewish people, of course, but by the Babylonians. They destroy the first temple, and then it's no longer here. Then they get permission to build a second temple, they build it again. And it lasts for 410 years or 420 years. And then it's destroyed again by the Romans. And now for 1900 years, we don't have a temple. Now it's not here at all. Now the question is magnified when you look into the Torah to see how much time was spent, how many verses are spent on the mitzvah of matzah and tefillin, the two that I gave you as an example. Very few. Very few. Or, for example, the mitzvah of not eating milk and meat. Right? There's a prohibition not to eat mixed milk and meat. 5 words. The whole thing. 5 words. Never changes. Stay mitzvah. You're not allowed to drink milk and meat. Or cook it, or even benefit from it. Whereas this mitzvah, to build a sanctuary, you know how many verses are dedicated to this one mitzvah? About 400. Yeah. About 400 verses. Maybe more. 500 verses. 500 long verses. This is the question. I'll tell you something. Someone says, here's another question. It's parenthetical. How many verses are dedicated to the building, to the creation of the whole world? God created the world in the beginning, right? How many verses describe the creation of the whole world? 32. 32 verses. The whole world. Heaven, earth, animals, men, women, everything. 32 verses. How big is the world? It's almost infinite. You can't even... It's expanding, we continue to say, right? It just never ends. Billions of light years in space. 32 verses. For one little high schooler, right? One little hut. That's what? 45 by 15. 400 or 500 verses are dedicated for this. It doesn't make any sense. And we know that the Torah is not large with words. It doesn't just use, verses and words for no reason. Every word is exact in the Torah. Over here suddenly it's so, splurges and it's no, what is it? So someone once said a very interesting thing. He says, for man to build a home for God to build a home for man, 32 verses are enough. You don't even need 32 verses. But for man to build a home for God, you need 500 verses. That's a real accomplishment. But that's one answer. Why there's so much time spent on it? But the question is the same question. Why a mitzvah that takes up so much place in the Torah does not have any permanence to it? And it keeps changing. It develops. So I don't want to get... It's not that there's no permanence. In other words, there will be a third temple that will be built very soon when the Mashiach comes. So it will be here again. It's not like it won't be here. But it's not here now. For a long, long, long period of time, almost 2,000 years. And then in the middle also, the other two were also destroyed and rebuilt. So what's the purpose? Why is this? Question is, let me ask you another question. Why does God need a house to begin with? He instructs the Jewish people to build him a little home in the desert over there, and then later in Shiloh, and then later in Jerusalem. What does he need this for? The whole world is his home. No, he's everywhere. Mm-hmm. You need a home. A person needs a home. But God needs a little home. The whole world is his home. What's the problem? What does God need of it? What is the purpose of building a home for him? So some would suggest that's not really for God. It's more for us. Oh, it needs a yarmulke. Some would suggest that the God doesn't need it. It's mainly for us. We should have a place where we can meet God face to face. Like a synagogue, right? Yeah. What's a synagogue? God needs it. You need it. We need it. A place that's holy where we can come and talk to God, communicate with God, and so on. Right?
Yes.
But that's not a good answer because the Torah says clearly that the instruction is that we should build God a home. He doesn't say build a house for yourself where you can come meet me. That this is called God's home. God wants it. He says, build me a home and I will dwell there. So it's for him, not for us. Yes, he invites us there to come and talk to him and be with him and see him and communicate with him and so on and so on. But it's for him. It's a home for him. Why does he need a home? So I'm going to quote to you what the Medrash says regarding the purpose of the creation of the whole world. You all heard this Medrash from me already many times. And it goes like this. Question is, why did God recreate the world? What did he need the world for? And the answer the Midrash gives is because he wanted to have a dwelling place for himself down in this physical world. What does that mean? A dwelling place? A home. Wanted a home in this physical world. That's why he created the whole world. That's why he went through the project of creation to begin with.
And didn't he want to create man in the image of himself?
He did create man in the image of himself.
But wasn't that one of his objectives?
To create man in the image of himself. He created man in the image of himself. He created animals, trees. He created the whole world. But why? What does he need this whole project for? And the answer is because he wanted to have a dwelling, a home in this physical world where he's not visible and not apparent. He wanted in this physical place to have a home for himself. What does it mean to have a home for himself? Let's take an example of a human being. What's the difference between a human being as he is in his home or as he is outside of his home? When you go out, you dress up, you put on a suit, you put on a whatever. If you're a lawyer, you put on the suit that represents a lawyer. If you're a doctor, you put on a suit that represents a doctor. If you're a plumber, you put on a clothing that represents a plumber, and so on and so forth. If you're a clown, you put on a suit that represents you as a clown.
If you're retired, you look like a screw.
That's how it is, right? You are a projection. You project yourself to the outside world in an outwardly projection. But when all these people, the lawyer, the doctor, the clown, the plumber, they all come home, all of that comes off, and they put on a pair of shorts or whatever, a polo shirt, and they lay down on their couch, and one foot goes over this edge of the couch, and the other one gets plumped down on the coffee table, and they're watching television. They're comfortable. They are themselves. The essence of the being dwells in this house. Not the essence of the being dwells in the office or is out there in the world. Your essence doesn't go out there, or is not comfortable there. In your home, you're comfortable. Your truest essence can dwell there, can express itself there. With the God, it's the same thing. He calls this physical place his home, where his essence can be revealed. See, all the upper worlds, all the emanations and all the spiritual realms, is not his essence. He's being a lawyer there, a doctor, this, that, and the other. It's not his essence. His essence he wants to have down here. And for that purpose, the beginning of this was, when did he begin this process? When he instructed the Jewish people, just after they got the Torah, to build for him a home. This instruction to build for him a home is not only to build one area where he would be present. It will start with that area. But his essence should then be found all over the physical realm, everywhere. You may ask, why did he want that? I don't know. We don't know why he wants that. What does he need to have a home down there? What is the purpose of him being, his essence should dwell on this physical earth? Who knows? We don't know that. That's like asking, why is God God? He is, and that's it. That's what he wants, and that's what he wants. The question why is not a real question. It's not a valid question. God wants it. That's it. That's it. You don't need a why. When I want something, there's always a why. You know why? This is a very important distinction. When you say, I want to build a house, I live in Weston, I want to go now and build a house in Colorado. Someone asks you, why? It's a valid question. What's your answer? So I want to be able to go there with my wife every so often, to go skiing, to go sightseeing, to go... There's always a why, there's always a reason. Why? Because you don't have it before and you lack it. You lack that. So when you lack something and you want to get it, that's a good question, it's a good answer. I want it because I don't have it and I want this, I like this. But when you say God wants this, does this fulfill a need? There's no need, there's no lack. He doesn't want, there's no need for anything. He doesn't lack anything. So why does he need this? If God said, I want you to give me a sandwich. You can't ask why. Or what are you going to answer? Because? There's no because. He doesn't lack it, he doesn't need it, he just wants it finished. The very question of why, when it comes to God, is a superfluous question. It's not because there's no answer, it's because the question is not valid. There's no question. You follow me? You follow my... You say you're with me, yeah? God wants a dwelling place down here on earth. He needs it. Something, it fulfills something, a need of his. A lack of his. You're not letting him say such a thing. To suggest that God is lacking something is a heretical thought. He's the all, everything. So what does he need? He doesn't need. He decided this is what he wants. Finished. He decided that you should put on film, and you should give charity, and you should be nice to your neighbor, and you should be this and that and the other. Why? There's no why. There's nothing you can answer to that question. And therefore the question is not a valid question. It's like asking what color is 2 and 2 is 4. It's not you don't have an answer to that question. There's no question's not a question.
It's the wrong question.
It's not a question. It's not that I don't have an answer. I don't have a question. The question doesn't make any sense. To ask why regarding God is superfluous. It's like, why does he exist? He exists. He is. That's it. There's no question. And why does he want things? Because he wants. There's no why. The why doesn't make sense of it. But that's what we know what he wants. Why is irrelevant. It's not important. What does he want? He wants a dwelling place down here.
So why was the answer for his essence?
Hmm?
Why was there a need for an answer if he works in ways that we don't understand? Why must it be it was for his essence was the answer?
In other words, what that means is God doesn't need, he lacks nothing. So what's the purpose of creation? The purpose of creation is, in his own words, to create for himself a dwelling place down here. That's what he said. That's what the purpose, that's what he wants out of this creation. Now you can ask me, why does he want this? There's no difference. Why? I don't know why. And the question is not a question. But I know what. The facts we know. The fact is that he created a world to create for himself a place for his essence. That's
So
what
if
he
there
wanted.
is no holiest of holy, then
Yeah, there
he's
is.
not going to...
Yeah, there is a holy of
Still.
holies. No, I'll get to there in a minute. I'll get to that. By the way, I'll tell you something interesting. It says in Kabbalah that one of the most essential needs of a human being is a home. A person wants the desire for a dwelling place, for a place a home to call his, is rooted in the essence of the human psyche. It's not like you want to have ice cream. It's not rooted in the essence. You want to have ice cream. You want a house is rooted in your essence. You know why? Because God created us, I think someone quoted it before. God created us in his image. And he wants a dwelling place. It's an essential desire. And therefore, we're in his image. So it's an essential desire to have a home as well. It says a person that doesn't have a home is not a person, not a complete person.
I would say God would also say, and you'd better be able to afford it also.
Based on last week?
Yeah, with his help, you will.
How about the homeless?
They're not complete human beings. In other words, they're not human beings. I don't mean it in that way, but they're lacking something fundamental. They're lacking something fundamental. It's not that you don't have an ice cream cone, okay, so you don't have an ice cream cone. You don't have a vacation, so you don't have a vacation. You're not lacking anything. You're not lacking anything as a human being. When you lack a home, you're lacking something as a human being.
Right.
A part of your humanness is not complete. When you're lacking a vacation, no part of your humanness is not complete. It's a superfluous want, and if you don't have it, it's also fine. This is not a superfluous desire. This is an essential desire, to have a home. Because God, we are in his image, we reflect him, and he had an essential desire for a home. That's why we do. And therefore, this answers our original question. Why did the mitzvah of building a home for God come in stages and developed over time? First a small house in the temple in the desert made out of wood, then a bigger home in Jerusalem made out of stone, in Shiloh, and then in Jerusalem, and was still not finished. It comes, it goes, it comes, it goes, it gets destroyed, and it's here again, we build it again, it gets destroyed again, and right now we're in a period where it's not. Why is that? The Torah is eternal. Why isn't this mitzvah eternal? Why doesn't it express itself in real eternal, in an eternal way? The answer is because this reflects that original desire to build a home. What does it mean to build a home? Build a home with 4 walls. It's more conceptual. What's the home for God? To take, and I made mention of this earlier, to take a realm, this our lowest physical realm, where he's not present, or not that he's not present, sorry, I take that back, where he's not apparent. Of course he's present, he's everywhere, but he's not apparently present here. He's not revealed. He's completely concealed. You know that the psalmist says, there's no creator like God. So the Talmud says, the word for creator in Hebrew is a tzur. So the Talmud interprets it and says, this tzur can also mean, if you vowelize it a little different, it comes out as an artist. It can also mean artist. So the Talmud says there's no artist like God. Why is there no artist like God? Because what does every artist do when they paint a picture?
Sign it.
They sign it at the end, exactly. This is made by Chagall, this is made by Rembrandt, this is made by Da Vinci, and so on and so forth. Everyone, you look at a painting, you see at the end, who is it? This painting, this artist, God, he made this magnificent portrait. It's the physical world, this whole creation, and he did not sign his name on it. You don't even know who made it. To the point where there are people that go around saying, there is no God, it came by itself. There is no painter to this painting. There's not, at least it's not visible. Why did he do it this way? Why didn't he make himself present? He said, that I want you to do. That he left up to mankind. Take the brush and paint my name on it. Put my name on this creation. You see a table, make sure that everyone knows that I created this table. You have your home, make sure that everyone knows that I created your home. You have a couch, make sure everyone knows that that's my couch. How do you make sure that everyone knows it's his couch? You use it for a godly purpose. You make your home into a godly place. You make your table a godly table. You make the tree a godly tree. And so on and so forth with the whole world. You create a home for him. It happens over time. When did it start? At Mount Sinai. God came down and said, this is the new project. We know what we have to do. We have to build him a home. And this home doesn't get built in one day. And it's not that he wants a home in one location. That's the paradigm, maybe. That's the example. But he wants that to be built everywhere. And this comes in stages. When is the end going to be? When Mashiach comes, that's when the whole home will be built. It'll be revealed once again. God's signature will be on creation everywhere. So because the process of his essence being revealed in this physical world comes in stages, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. The more mitzvahs we do, the more good deeds we do, the more godly things we do, the more we reveal them. Another section of the world is conquered into the realm of godliness. Another section. It happened until the whole world will finally come under his domain. That's when Mashiach comes, when the Messiah comes. But up till that point, we're still working on it. So while we put on tefillin, when we put it on, we have the whole mitzvah. We're doing it from beginning to end every day. So it's the same mitzvah every day. There's no development in it. But when we're creating the home for God comes in stages. Doesn't happen all at once. It's a mitzvah that's taken us 3,500 years. So the very physical structure that is the paradigm for this mitzvah, which is the tabernacle and the temple, it also develops with time. First we take over the realm of wood, then we take over the realm of the more physical, which is stone, and so on and so forth. It develops over time as we create an awareness of God in this world, more and more and more and more. It gets bigger and bigger, reflective of the actual mitzvah. In the beginning it's small, later it's bigger, representing that we took over a greater realm of godliness. So it comes to stages because the very mitzvah is meant to be a work in progress. So the very mitzvah is a work in progress. And the fact that we don't have the temple today is reflective of that. Because it's not that all the work of the past is gone. We're up to a new stage. God wants us to get into the final stage of actually taking over the whole world. So he removes from us the prior temple, what we call destruction. Because that represents a very limited kind of manifestation of God. So he removes that and gives us the go-ahead to now take it to the next level. So this back and forth. Every stage is a higher stage. And finally we're in the last stages.
Do you think, Rabbi,
Well, just a second. We're in the final stages of conquering the whole world. That's, by the way, why the Talmud says that God did a great act by dispersing the Jewish people around the world. First of all, it's for their own benefit, and second of all, it's for God's benefit. For their own benefit is so that if they're persecuted in one place, at least there's a remnant somewhere else. If they were all in one place, they'd be always more vulnerable. So he dispersed us. But the main point is, why did he disperse us? Because all over the corners of all four corners of the world, because he needs the agent to be all over to transform that location into a place that he can call home as well, where his essence can be revealed. So when you find yourself in a place in Australia or New Zealand or on a boat somewhere, whoever you find yourself, know that you're not there just because you decided to have a vacation there today. You're there because God needs you there to do some kind of transformation and putting a signature on that part of creation. That's the process. And again, why, I don't know. Why he needs this, I don't know. But he needs it. He wants it. I don't know if he needs it. He wants it. Once he wants it, he needs it. That's the way it works with God. Once he decides to want something, he needs it. So that's why the mitzvah of creating the temple came in phases. Because the very whole idea which the temple represents, which is creating a home for God, is a work in progress. And so get busy. It's time to get busy.
So when we have there is no temple, and there's no house.
One second, I'm just going to conclude. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next week.